You know, Christmas time's coming, so get your Christmas spirit rolling today. We're going to start the service though with a song called "This Is the Day," and if you'd please rise and join with us and sing the song, bring the spirit up, we'd really appreciate it, and we'll get it started. Yeah, yeah.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Woo!
Yay, this is the day. Hey, Fred, would you do me a favor and get Kathy, Rose, and Phil? So good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm the assistant minister here. I want to welcome you here on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm loving the weather right now. We actually sat outside and had a fire going this morning. It was really wonderful. Yeah, this morning. Yeah, so it was really beautiful to sit out there and enjoy. We have an outdoor fireplace, so it was really nice. So anyway, the announcements, before I go over the announcements, we wanted to bring Kathy, Rose, and Phil. Just keep on walking up here. We just wanted to acknowledge you and thank you. We have a poinsettia for you to take home, but you can't take it yet because it looks really good there, but you can take it after service. But we wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for not only with everything you've done in the thrift store, but also with the Thanksgiving dinner and everything you continue to do. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. And the poinsettias are for you. The one poinsettia is for you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. We have to make it short and simple for them because they don't like a lot of acknowledgement. So get up here and get off. All right, so a couple of announcements. So on this, well, you bring her in here, and then you'll bring it back up here. All right. So the first announcement is remind everybody on Wednesday, December the 18th, is when we do our candlelight service, right? So we do it the week before Christmas, and it's at 6:30. So please come and join us for that. It's a beautiful. Reverend Karen does an incredible job with this ritual service. It's very beautiful. That's all I'm going to say. So you need to come. We're also want to remind you that on the fourth Sunday we are doing the sound bowlings with Dr. Kay Fontana. So she's going to be doing the sound bowling on that Sunday, the last Sunday. And then I also want to remind everybody that on December 31st at 6 p.m. Reverend Sue is going to be doing the burning bowl ceremony, right? And that's the burning bowl ceremony. We come in, we release everything for this year, so we're ready to receive everything for next year. So please join us for that as well. So we got a lot of really wonderful holiday activities going on that to really ground us in this spiritual home that we call West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. So now I want to bring Kathy back up here again after we've acknowledged her.
So you're all aware of everything that's been going on, but I think it bears saying that the thrift store is a lot of work and requires a lot of dedication. And Mary Hines, the first notation I saw in our notebook was in June of 2012. And for the last 12 years, she has been the heart and soul of our thrift store. And I'm really grateful for everything that you brought and so humbled to follow after you. And that's yours to take home. They don't want you to take it now. But we want to say thank you for your service and for your dedication and for your love.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Again, please hold off on the poinsettias till after service. All right, so one last thing, because they're so beautiful. If you notice, the sanctuary is halfway decorated, okay? So if you would like to stay after service and help finish decorating it, that would be absolutely wonderful. We have some things to hang up still to make this a little more festive, but we have put some things out. So, all right, so that's all of our announcements today. So, let's start off with our vision statements. Let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's wonderful message. Thank you.
Just take a deep breath and relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
A quiet place. A quiet place in our hearts where God resides. God, that infinite presence, that infinite spirit, the wisdom, the joy, the giving, the receiving of all things and all beings and all situations in life, in this universe. It is all God. God expressing in beautiful ways. And each one of us in this room and each one online watching and those that cannot be with us, all are divine expressions of that beautiful God. We are one with God. And in our hearts and in our minds, we are expressing as God intended for us to be. And knowing that infinite presence of God, the wisdom, the joy, the peace, and knowing that we are open and receptive to all that is good as we experience our life in this divine world. And on this day at the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, I speak a word of blessing for each one of us here, all of those in service, all of those watching online, and for the Bradfords and their beautiful music, knowing that their harmony touches our hearts and souls with the essence of their musical abilities and the essence of who they are. And for Reverend Karen, knowing that her divine message is from the words of God that speak through her, as her, and that each one of us is receiving the divine, perfect experience that we came to experience today. And for all of those other faith traditions, knowing that there are many paths to that one God. And I'm so grateful for this day, and I release my words into the law, knowing it is already done, it is so, and together we say, and so it is. My reading today is a book called The Prayer Chest, a novel about receiving all of life's riches by August Gold and Joel Fotinos. And in this book, it's a story. It takes place in the late 1800s, and it focuses around a family that has experienced great loss. But the one discovers this prayer chest, and inside was a little booklet with telling about the prayer chest. And in it, it said, the first secret of the prayer chest is prayer is answered through you. The second secret, prayer is answered when you listen. And the third secret, prayer is answered when you welcome everything. And in it, they say, do not make the mistake that mankind makes when it throws open its arms to growth or good fortune alone and rejects all else. Doing so leaves one lopsided, like a cart with wheels on only one side. We must learn from nature, where opposites walk hand in hand, Grandma Mary said. Look how effortlessly nature shifts from day to night, season to season, releasing each in its turn. Mankind is not like this. We choose gain over loss and light over dark by refusing half. We are no longer able to receive the whole of our answered prayer. My son, make yourself ready for loss and letting go as perhaps part of the answer to your prayer. It may not be immediately apparent how failure leads to flourishing or loss fertilizes the ground for gain, but trust that it shall. The third secret is the greatest test of our faith and is precisely at that point where most men fail. That is why on the precious few chance encounters that found us alone together, Grandma Mary would whisper this to me: part prayer, part advice, lest I forget, be like an ocean that refuses no river. Through an open vessel, she explained, prayers flow unobstructed, and heaven finds an inlet and outlet through which to reveal itself on earth. Here then, my son, is how prayer is answered when you welcome everything. Let's take that into contemplation. And so it is.
Christmas time is here, happiness and cheer, fun for all that children call their favorite time of year. Snowflakes in the air, carols everywhere, olden times and ancient rhymes of love and dreams to share. The holiday spirit is everywhere present, a time for giving and receiving. Are you ready to receive your good and celebrate the joy of it? Christmas time is here, families drawing near. Oh, that we could always see the Spirit through the year. Oh, that we could always see this Spirit through the year.
That was so lovely. That was very beautiful. Thank you so much, Bradfords. And, usually at the end of my message I say, and that's what I wanted to say today. But that and that is what I want to say today. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center. Oh, you did multiply nicely in the dark. I'm so pleased. Good to see you all here. We are in that season where we are listening to Christmas music and we're looking at our spiritual traditions, and almost every faith tradition has some kind of something that happens this time of year. So whether you are celebrating Hanukkah or Christmas, or the winter solstice is the delight of your soul. It's an important celebration for me, that's for sure. I love it when the sun comes back. I would just remind you that it does all go back to that very beginning in those very primal days where early humankind was just trying to figure out the seasons and good and bad and all those cycles of life. And so they worshiped the sun. And over time, that became the holiday that was the worship of the Son of God. And it all mingles together. If you look back far enough, you see that there's one truth, one essential truth that is always representing and creating itself. So it is a season of rituals and celebrations and ceremonies and festivities of every sort. And the title of my message this morning is Receiving Your Gifts. So really well done. It usually, that was a really good, pretty triune nature of what needs to be stated today, because I have written a message talking about how can we be gracious receivers? There's something funny that happens at Christmas time, and I used to do this in my home when the kids were little or teenagers. You never knew who was going to show up at Christmas time when we would do our family celebration. We always had a big open door, and so I always hid 2 or 3 wrapped gifts that were neutral gender-wise in case there were some surprises. So we can really make Christmas be less about connecting and more about that need to sort of reciprocate. If somebody gives, you want to be prepared to give back to them. And I want to sort of re-examine all of that. And I want to just invite all of us to practice being gracious receivers, whether it's a gift of time, the gift of someone's presence, or the gift you are giving of your time or presence, or a real present. We know that all of it can be meaningful depending on how we talk about it. So my son in California, I spoke with him this week, and he said to me, he has a new interest in spirituality, and it tickles his mummy's soul. I'm so happy that my children and even some of my grandchildren are leaning into questioning me about some of the ways, the insights that I have and my past experiences and how it brought me to here. And my son said to me, I love my church and I love my pastor. And I'm kind of, what he says now this month of December on Sunday sermons, he's speaking about the consumerism and greed and how we've lost the meaning of Christmas. And I said to him, well, this pastor will not be delivering that message because I think that it's not that I disagree with that, but I think that, as I mentioned last week, we're all at choice. We get to do it the way it works for us. And of course, we don't do guilt and shame in New Thought. It just, you would not be here if I did guilt and shame. That's part of what attracts us, attracts individuals to us. So I'm looking for us to think about how we show appreciation for what is given. And honestly, you could not have done a better reading, and you could not have presented a better piece of music, Kathy. And Rod, you played really well, as always. Yeah, honorable mention, yes. Because I found this quote that really kind of chimed in. It had a vibrational familiarity to it when I knew what I wanted to say today. I found this quote from Paulo Coelho. And I'm very fond of Paulo Coelho. He is most famous for that little book, The Alchemist. But after that, he published many, many other little, it's spiritual fiction. And he is so interesting. But I had an encounter with him when I did a book review for a little metaphysical bookstore I volunteered some time at. And he reached out to me, and I had email communication with him early up when we were all first on AOL. And so it was a really fun experience, and I love Paulo Coelho, and I have read many, many of his books. Here's something he said that just touches me. The soul of the universe is nourished by people's happiness. The soul of the universe is nourished by our happiness. So the purpose that I set out when I began writing this message is to invite us to be open to that, to just find that way to look for those moments where we can let joy just bubble up. And if it happens to be in an exchange of a connection with other people in your life, even strangers in a grocery store or while you're out shopping somewhere, or it's the actual exchanging of gifts. Just look for that moment of joy, because when we are excited and willing to receive without feeling obligated to reciprocate, then our gift to the giver is that gracious appreciation. And I think we should not underestimate that. The early metaphysicians and the great spiritual thinkers of all the ages that precede us have this similar statement of how the way to bring God's love in form on the planet is through us. That we as individuals, a part of humanity, that it is our it is our, I don't know, it's almost like it's a job. It's almost important that we do this, because if we don't let love channel through us, if we don't become that conduit of love or of joy or of peace and goodness, it would not be on the earth. So there's a bit of a responsibility in it, but I think we can do it with knowing that when we are joy-filled, when we are loving, when we are open-hearted, then that is when everybody benefits, including ourselves. So this is a conversation about being aware of giving and receiving and being a willing partner in all of it. I think what it means is, this is just a random Karen thought. What it means is that when we can let God's love move through us, when we can let God's joy bubble up inside of us, and we are aware of it, we are conscious of it, then we are actually being obedient to the laws of universal order. Because the universe has this structure where things have to work in order and in harmony with each other. So when we just let that stuff naturally happen through us, that's when those are the moments we can experience that deep inner peace, because it sort of creates some sense of balance in the way that we're moving through our life. I think it's actually a way that we help to bring holiness to the planet. Because when we receive anything and we appreciate the presence of each other, when we have that open, grateful heart, that's when joy flows. That's when we are really participating in circulating love and joy on this planet. And I witness, it seems that we can observe the downfall for us is when we take giving as an obligation. We try and match, that person gave me a really nice gift, so I'm going to try it. Now I really feel indebted to them, like I have to do that back. And I want you to just allow in your mind and your heart to soften and free yourself from feeling any sense of obligation. Because when we are tied to obligation in such a way, we cannot experience the same level of joy that the free and open heart can and soul can experience. When I first met Reverend Clyde, do you know, it's been about 10 years, Reverend Clyde. I think, did we already pass your 10-year anniversary? I think we did, probably last summer was your 10th year here. It was our first Christmas together, and he informed me that holidays were a big deal to him. And I didn't tell him, but I went, they're not such a big deal to me. I'm busy. And it was very sweet that he could be that open and tell me this. So he told me, as we got closer to Christmas, he said, my gift to you, because I know this will make you really happy, he said, I'm going to take you shoe shopping. Because everybody knew I loved shoes. I used to wear those really big, tall, spiky heels before COVID. Then my feet relaxed. Now I wear squishy, comfortable shoes, and it's kind of nice. But Reverend Clyde said, I'm going to take you shoe shopping, so tell me where you want to go. Do you remember the details of this, Reverend Clyde? So I went, okay, this is going to be awkward because I buy all my shoes from Payless when it's a BOGO sale. buy one, get one. And he's a classy guy. So I had a dilemma. It was like he said to me, you pick where you want to buy the shoes from. And so that was part of the dilemma. I couldn't take him to Payless Shoe Store. That would have been embarrassing. So I did my research and I one-upped it. I took him to, he drove me actually, to DSW, which stands for Discount Shoe Warehouse, which wasn't a lot better than Payless, but in my world it was. And so we walk in this big warehouse shoe store, and I pick out a pair of shoes, and he looks at me and he says, well, I thought you were going to say like Nordstrom's, so, I can buy you 2 pairs of shoes for probably a lot more, right? And he said, I was going to let you have whatever you wanted. And so, and we're still kind of getting to know each other, but we're very fond of each other. So now the other half of that dilemma was that I went, crap, what do I get him? He is a really classy person who has now told me the holidays are really important to him. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but in my cluttered life, his home, it feels like a minimalist home to me because I like my stuff. He always, every time he comes over, he says, you have too much stuff. And I always say to him, you don't have enough stuff. Well, you need more stuff. So now I have this dilemma, and my favorite thing to do would be to make somebody something, but Clyde's a classy guy, and I couldn't think of anything to make him that he would really openly want. And I did end up finding him a really cool gift. You can ask him later. It'll be fun to see if he remembers what I got him. But it was so painful for me, and it was so uncomfortable. I think we were a little awkward in that relationship, in that giving and receiving relationship. It was at first for us, that at some point, we decided not to do that again. And we decided it would be more fun if we would dedicate an afternoon to sharing a meal at a very nice restaurant that we only go to at Christmas time. And that has been our tradition for 9 of the 10 years, 9 of the 10 Christmases that we have shared together. And I'm very grateful for that. But Reverend Clyde said something interesting to me, maybe even in the shoe store. I don't even think we were in the car yet. And he said to me, I don't think you think big enough. I said, I'll buy you a pair of shoes anywhere you want. And so here's me listening. He doesn't get me. Well, what I wanted was to go to Payless Shoe Store. And after I processed his words to me, because this is why we do co-ministry really well together, what I understood was it was really good, solid advice that I could not hear from anybody else. He was teaching me that I could think bigger than I was thinking. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to think about it. But here's the thing. It's not about the gift. Can you see how I got hung up in like, oh no, he wants to do something nice for me. Now what do I do for him? And the harder I tried, the further away from making a good decision probably I got. So here's the theme quote that I used in my blog this week to promote the message. It comes from Dr. Ernest Holmes in This Thing Called You. And Holmes said, as you open your consciousness to a greater receptivity to the divine, as you open your consciousness to an enlarged concept of the good that might flood your experience, then life will take on new and wonderful meaning. And I believe that Reverend Clyde helped me step into that place of thinking bigger and of welcoming and receiving the generosity of expressed in a gift, no matter what the gift is. And I also really appreciate that we give each other the gift of time now, and we have a very special, it's coming up. We have a date coming up. So there's something in receiving when you learn to do it well that connects to the way we can anticipate and we can appreciate the movement of good in our life. I think that's what Holmes is saying, that as we stretch our consciousness to receive more, as we enlarge our concept of how we define what good is, then that good can begin to flood our experience. These are really powerful words. And we can do that without the physical exchange of gifts. The practice, this is really something, this is why I love writing messages. This is what occurred to me this week. The practice of giving and receiving is like the closing of a circle. If you think about the law of circulation, which happens everywhere in the universe, including in our own bodies, it's a circle, it's a movement, it's like a wheel that continues perpetually to turn. And we then begin to live our life from the center, from the hub of that wheel. And when we're in the center, there is this place of divine balance. There is this way in which you close that circle and the wheel turns perfectly, and you experience a greater sense of harmony and peace in your livingness. And that's because something from the inner melds with the outer, and it shifts our vibration so that we are open and ready to receive, as we like to say. And that's where peace lives and thrives. Now, on those occasions where we don't feel balance in that way, or in times in our lives or in the world when things feel out of order, I just noticed that we easily translate, was it the reading? It was the reading, I think, that Kay did. Yes, it was the reading. When things don't seem to be going the way we want them to go, it's easy to believe that something or someone is against you. So we want to be really aware of how what's in the consciousness of humanity and how our own mind thinks and functions, so that we don't get in the trap of thinking somebody should be gifting us with, something that shiny and expensive or whatever it is, so that we don't start imposing that idea of our expectations as physical things, as things of, I keep wanting to say the word matter because that's how the metaphysicians would word it. There is no something or someone against us when we are balanced and harmonized in that beautiful divine way. Dr. Holmes words it this way. He said, "There are no obstructions in spirit. Begin to identify yourself with the truth which knows no obstruction. Begin to claim your divine inheritance." And these are really important words that could be very useful for the rest of this month and into the new year. I believe that there's another way, even another way in which we can benefit from the understanding of reciprocity from a spiritual view. But in terms of this physical living planet Earth, the earth cradles our human existence. From the earth, we get our shelter and food and water and medicine. And we are constantly receiving the gift of life from this beautiful planet. So I love that idea of walking through a wooded area where you can see that this is an ecosystem. This is a whole little universe all on its own, in the same way that our own physical body is like a whole little universe all on its own. When you walk through a wooded area, it's really easy, if you're very conscious and aware, to see how each thing in the forest provides something vital to everything else in that system of life. And so it's important to understand the wholeness. Here's a cute saying. So if you walk in the woods, then you must feed the mosquitoes. Unless you live in the Midwest right now with all the snow they're getting. There's no mosquitoes right now. My family back there says, yes, they love their snow bugs. They like that part of this part of the year. So I have some tips for you for balancing the inner and the outer so you can keep your wheel, the wheel of circulation, you can stay at the hub in your wheel. And it begins with something I just observe in most couples who have been partnered for a lengthy period of time. There comes a point where there's nothing really left you want to buy that other person. It's so much of a burden. Maybe Clyde and I will. Well, actually, we got there early. Maybe it only took us 1 year to get there. But I know as my children grew older and Christmas shifted and it changed, that it was more like Christmas was more like I went to, I was out shopping and came home with a beautiful amber necklace in a box, and I gave it to him and said, wrap this up and put it under the tree. I'm so happy you got me this. Or he would come home and he would go, oh, you just bought me a little chrome for my motorcycle, thanks, And that would be, that's my Christmas gift, and we were really happy doing that. And then we would also travel. We would not exchange gifts at all, but we would treat ourselves to a little, some time at the ocean, because that was always our big, enjoyable thing. Even on my birthday, he, instead of trying to surprise me or make me happy with the perfect gift, we often went to the beach on our birthdays, and he would say, when the server brought the check around, we're getting ready to leave, my husband would announce then to the server, it's my wife's birthday, and she doesn't want any gifts, so I'd like to pay the check of that couple sitting back there in that corner, and don't tell them who did it. And that would always make me cry. That was a good gift. There was so much meaning in that I absolutely loved that. My first birthday, without him, was a bit of a stretch because I didn't feel very happy and I didn't want to be happy, It was a difficult, awkward time. But I felt like, I just didn't even want to acknowledge it, but I felt like maybe this would be a milestone to actually do something for myself on my birthday and not just be sad that he's not here. So I happened to think of a girlfriend that I used to have in Covina. Her name is Darlene. She passed in 2010, but oh my gosh, she was a wonderful friend. Darlene and my prayer partner, Monica, and myself and a couple other women, we were best of friends. We went through all our prac studies together and then have stayed in touch. And it was very sad when Darlene passed. Darlene had moved to the Pacific Northwest. And when I went to her memorial center, which we had the memorial in Covina, for all the friends that knew her there. And somebody had made the most beautiful program with her picture on it. And behind Darlene was this gorgeous, large harp. It was just such a beautiful picture. And this was a classy lady who belonged in front of a harp. It just was fitting to me. And so I'm thinking, what could I do for myself? I love that picture of Darlene. I thought of her with the harp, and harp doesn't, I don't need a harp, but I started thinking, but I love the cello. Cellos are beautiful. Now, keep in mind, I have no desire to ever learn to play it. Kendra plays the cello beautifully. You play the harp also, don't you? Oh, you're not that cool. She's pretty cool, though. She's pretty cool. So I did what any girl trying to create a milestone ritual in her life would do. I got on Amazon and I bought a cello. And it came in a few days, and it was in a big old box, and I left it in the living room until my birthday came. And at the last minute, my friend Monica, who was one of our three friends that we often did retreats together and fun stuff, and Monica called and she said, I don't want you to be alone for your birthday. I'm going to come visit you. So Monica came, and Monica and I got the cello out. I didn't take it out of the box till she got there, and we set it up in the living room, and I don't even have the words for how much joy the cello brings me in my life. And so while we were setting up the cello, I told her the story of how I chose to buy a cello since I don't want to play it. And I said, remember that picture of Darlene with the harp behind her? And I just thought, what a cool woman is she that she had a harp in her living room. And Monica went, that wasn't her living room. That was a museum. She was a docent at that museum. I'm glad I didn't know that. Because last week I hosted a Gourmet for God event in my home. And somewhere in the time period of our gathering, one of the women said, oh, where's the restroom? And I said, oh, cross right through the living room, turn left at the cello. Who can say that, right? Who gets to say that? It's not about the thing. This is a message I really want you to hear right now. It is never about the thing. It's about what the thing represents. And so for me, buying myself, I never would have bought a cello had I still been in that relationship. And so for me, it represented my independence. It was a rite of passage. It represents freedom and beauty and the freedom that I can have beauty and joy in my life. And at that point, I wasn't really sure that I would ever have joy again. So what brings you joy? What brings you joy? Think about it. I've asked you this question dozens of times through the years. What brings you joy? This is one of those questions, those, what do you call it, where you, I can't remember the word. Don't even try, not important. One of those questions that comes up in class often, theoretical, that's the word I was looking for, where you say, if money was no issue, if time was no issue, if you had all the resources and the wisdom, what would you do? You know, and who would you do it with? Where would you go? How would you translate that in your life? That's the question that then leads you to the divine quality that your soul longs for. Your soul doesn't long for more stuff, right? But we have these divine qualities that are always desiring emergence on this planet and in our lives to be expressed through us. So what makes you happy? You start with the thing, but the thing then leads you to the divine truth. And now you have something rich, a fodder you can work with and make something out of. So happiness is not about buying a cello. For me, buying the cello was about accepting that I still had the capacity to appreciate beauty and joy, and I could have those things in my life still. So this is the season where we think about these things, about giving and receiving and knowing it's not about the perfect gift. It's not even about a gift exchange. Things don't make us more whole. But it is in our ability to be grateful, to appreciate, to be a gorgeous, gracious receiver in which we help the wheel, the law of circulation. We keep it turning and we stay close to the center. We're closing the circle, and those are the ways in which we are changed. This is the way that transformation happens in our lives, but it's also the way it happens on the planet. And so we're learning these things right now that shift and change and transformation. This is an ongoing project. We will do it as long as we are living. And then we have a big change, and then there is more life. And we don't have all the answers to that. But we understand that it is the biggest, most trying, transformational experiences in our lives that give us the greatest opportunities to open and expand and understand and see life from a higher level. And if by chance, while you're moving through something big, if by chance you get a glimpse of that divine truth, then you have been stretched and you have been reshaped and you are ready to be a part of making this world all new again, which I believe is what this season is about. I will close by saying, I was reading about Isaac Newton. And Isaac Newton, we give credit for what a brilliant human he was and what great contributions to science he delivered to the world. But the story says that he was sitting under a tree in his own property, in his own garden. He was sitting under an apple tree. And that a piece of fruit fell from the tree, and he had some kind of crazy aha moment where he understood the theory of gravitational force. And he worked it all out so that we can talk about it now, and we understand about gravity now. But I want to say that he did something, what happened to Isaac Newton was far greater than any kind of a theory on gravity. What happened to Isaac Newton happens to us all the time, where we have moments of profound opening and we sense that there's more going on in the world, in this universe, than we are privy to see with the naked eye. Newton recognized how absolutely connected everything in this universe is, and that he was a part of it. For a moment, Isaac Newton fully understood that he was one with some invisible force, and so are we. And that's what I wanted to say. Take a breath. Take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. And for a moment, we set aside the words that have been spoken, the images that the words create in our minds. And we sense and see that we are right here in this sacred space, hearing these powerful words of prayer that are anchoring us, grounding us to this beautiful planet in such a way that we can feel the support of the entire universe, everywhere present in intelligence that I call God, in a universe where all things work together. I rejoice in knowing that there is no place where this wisdom is missing or limited. I am grateful to understand this law of circulation, the relationship between giving and receiving that keeps this wheel of life active and moving. That this beautiful planet is a living thing. And that in our love and our willingness to experience the bubbling up moments of joy, to recognize the way we are so beautifully supported by this gravitational force, and that from this beautiful planet we have shelter and water and food and medicine so that all of our needs are met. And so today, in this final month of this year, we give thanks for all the gifts that we have received. And we create in this center of our being, in our very soul itself, a joyous anticipation and appreciation for all that is yet to come. So I feel the love of God. I feel it in me. I feel it quickening in such a way that it becomes apparent that there is an intelligence that exists in our being that allows us to heal from things that ail us, that allows us to let our love just flow freely and beautifully in this world, in this experience of our very own life, in our families, and in our relationships. I sense that movement of the law of circulation in our finances and in the health of and well-being of this spiritual center. For I know that the givingness of God never ceases. It continues. And so do we. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite spirit. How good it is to know that all is well, that there is that guidance and that effusive love that desires to express on this planet. We say yes to life. I say thank you, God, and I release these words into the law, knowing it is already done. And so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Oh, thank you, Bradford. So I am grateful. So I have to share just a quick story because we're talking about gifts and stuff. I get in trouble with Mark because when I love buying Christmas gifts, but I also love buying Christmas gifts for myself. And so he gets mad at me because he's like, stop buying stuff for yourself because I can't get anything for you. So that's what we go through at our house. So anyways, but it's still a wonderful time. All right. Just want to remind you, after you get some great food with the Dining with the Dudes, come back in here and help us decorate up the sanctuary. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So we have the drop boxes, the donation boxes in the back of the room, and we appreciate all of your donations and that support the community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
And just a reminder, we have choir practice after snack time. Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing it with us. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for
Yes, it does. Feels good to be alive. All right, so let's say our closing affirmation. Repeat after me. My gift is to be open to receiving gifts.
Gift is to be open to receiving gifts.
And I allow love to vibrate out into the world.
And I allow love to vibrate out into the world.
And so it is.
So